A competition is in full swing at the Beijing Winter Olympics, and so too is a strict closed-loop system for athletes and officials. Or that loop separates them from locals as part of China's efforts to keep COVID-19 at bay. Olivia Xiong reports on how those inside the bubble are coping with restrictions.
新年快乐，新年快乐！
It's the Chinese New Year unlike no other for 22-year-old Ding Wenhao. A festive period typically spent with family at home, this time spent with colleagues in the so-called Winter Olympics closed loop, away from the wider community. All part of the job as he interns at one of the competition venues in Zhangjiakou.
当时可能想的是，回不了家了，没有办法跟家里头过年了，然后在山上。
But on further thought, the winter sports major said being part of an international sporting event like the Winter Olympics was an opportunity he didn't want to miss, even if it meant being away from home for 4 months and adhering to numerous restrictions.
我们每天是早上6点半起床，然后起床之后第一件事情就是先去做核酸。 然后做完核酸呢，会有专门的车辆拉我们，从我们居住的地方，然后到达我们的工作岗位，会有一些不习惯吧，因为，不是很自由嘛。
Things don't end after the games do. The Hebei native will have to spend up to 21 days in quarantine before he can return to normal life in China.
Now, the only thing that's really separating those of us who are outside of the closed loop and those who are on the inside, for example, in the main media center over there, are these barricades that have been set up. Now, there have also been many of these signs warning people not to cross into the bubble and telling pedestrians and cars instead to go around it.
Those inside get shuttled around on designated vehicles and stay in designated hotels. With an influx of athletes, officials and media from abroad, Chinese authorities are concerned about the increased transmission risk. So all overseas participants must be fully vaccinated or face a 21-day quarantine upon arrival.
So here we are, a place where you have all kinds of folks who are basically coming here from all around the world, just trying to sort of understand the magnitude of what it takes to pull off, games like this during a pandemic.
Speaking to us from inside the bubble, veteran Canadian journalist Anthony Germain had been looking forward to returning to China for the Winter Olympics. After all, he was based here for 5 years, from 2006 to 2011, although things are clearly not the same.
So I can see all the restaurants, I can see all the Lao Baixing, all the ordinary people that you'd love to interview, but we can't get anywhere near them. So it's like we're in a glass dome, and there's real China, and then here there's like Olympic China.
Mr. Germain adds movement restrictions have made reporting on the Games more challenging, not just on topics that China finds sensitive, like concerns over its human rights record in Xinjiang, but regular news as well. A different experience from when he covered the 2008 Beijing Summer Olympics.
Well, you can talk to people who criticize the Olympics, saying, it's too expensive, China's got other problems. And we could talk to people who love the Olympics. I think the real question is, how are we going to cover these games? We have people back in Toronto and in Vancouver trying to help connect me to people just outside here, to do a Zoom with somebody who's probably just 5 blocks from me.
China is one of the last few countries to hold on to a zero-COVID policy, with its borders largely closed off, although questions have been raised over how long it can keep this up for, especially as other countries start to open up.
China is also experimenting this as a new management if they have to live with COVID for a very long time.
But in spite of the strict measures, about 400 positive cases have been detected among participants and games-related personnel so far. On Monday, Canadian and Russian ice hockey players wore masks during their match after COVID test results were delayed. The pandemic no doubt leaving its mark in what's said to be a games that will be remembered for a long time to come. Olivia Xiong, CNA, Beijing.